All right, we'll get this thing started. Um, Everyone should be able to hear me still. If not, let me know. But thanks for hopping on this Monday morning. It's at least a rainy one here, but I hope everyone had a good um, week, weekend, kind of getting back to normal after the holiday rush from last week. But today, so we're going to talk about a couple different things. Excuse me. Main one being all of these different carrier changes that keep popping up on us, and subtle adjustments that are for the better, in line with what's going on for 20 the 2017 actuarial tables, the CSO tables. So that's where all these different changes. You probably see a lot of different emails popping up about products adjusting and things becoming a little bit different, rates changing. Well, it's all for the better. It's just a pain in the butt to deal with to start of, but we'll get through it. That's what we're kind of having these little calls, kind of just breaking down some of the stuff, seeing what's different, what's actually there, what's not. Some products that have changed for the better. So today, really good to just kind of break down just three of them. Looking at Foresters, their new Plan Right product, Transamerica, um, the one that finally has an e-app, and then our newest addition, United Home Life, and kind of where we can plug them in and how they look and different, just like I said, some key basic features about them. So not going to steal too much of the thunder. Both or all three of these carriers on their websites have some pretty decent training, kind of explain the product in a more in-depth approach. But in terms of the basics of what we need to know, that's what we're going to kind of talk about and cover. So without further ado, so we're looking at Foresters, and what's cool about them now, they're now on a standard, preferred, and basic plan, meaning that there's two day one options, so similar to a Transamerica, Liberty Bankers, companies that do it with that same kind of setup. Forces are now going to kind of be a part of that, so that they have a two-tiered system for day one coverage. What's gone away is their graded option, so no more 30-70 splits. Their basic plan is still their ROP, with a 10% interest for the first year, 2 years. So, but in terms of face amounts, still the same. Low end being a 5,000, high end going up to 35,000 on their preferred option. Let's see what else has really changed. No. Yeah, so breakdown wise, yeah, they're pretty much very the same. I mean, the big changes are come on the application and what they're actually taking. So if you're on the screen share, you can see this kind of breakdown table wise. But the big thing now is, like I said, their set of questions. So they're a little bit different order, a little bit different verbiage put on there just so they can have a little bit more flexibility and ease of use in terms of being able to take certain things. Like now they take COPD. So we do have another COPD friendly carrier to add to the actual pot of companies that we work with, aside from the current Transamerica, Liberty Bankers, Assurance. Nice little wrinkle to add to the mix. Yes, they are still a paper application. So in terms of, hold on, let me just add this. So I'm trying to add another device to the stream so I can look at it. All right, sorry, there's people pending to be admitted. I have to look at the screen to be able to see who's who. Um, so there's, like I said, new set of questions, which we'll take a peek at here. Questions 1 through 6, those are going to be still your same knockout questions. Compared to most apps, it's nothing really different. They're all the same. They're just more elaborated. So there's seemingly a lot more questions on the application. They're just broken down into smaller sub questions. So it makes the phone process a little bit easier in terms of the actual phone call. It should go a little bit smoother, a little bit quicker versus them reading out those really long-winded questions, and it kind of takes a bunch of time. So it's a huge plus. Like I said, questions 1 through 6, those are your knockout questions, ranging from those that are on the phone side of it. I mean, nursing home care to those used to be at the very end of the application. They're at the beginning now. Wheelchair, electric scooter for diagnosed medical issues, oxygen, dialysis. Your normal CHF, ALS, those types of things, Alzheimer's, dementia. Where things start changing, so there's a set of questions between 7 and 12. Now, anything that's answered yes in this section, you're going to be looking at their basic plan, which is their, like I said, their modified. Also, so make sure I read this. So the cool thing about these different sections, they have their breakdowns of how to answer what plan they're going to qualify for based off the actual answers. It is a progressive application still, but yeah, you can have multiple yeses inside the section. They'll still be eligible for coverage. So like heart attack in the last 12 months, alcohol drug abuse the past 2 years, diabetic complications. So it probably wouldn't be our first look for most of these issues, but like I said, they still do give it a look, which is nice. But the big difference is going to be questions 13 through 15. So if you look at it now, we said Parkinson's, lupus, those are now taken as day one coverage options, whether it be as a standard rate. Your hepatitis, your kidney disease, kidney failures are now standard. Renal insufficiency, chronic kidney disease, the big one, like I said, COPD, respiratory issues. The one I like the most, though, is they can now get standard with Foresters. They had a heart attack, stroke, or TIA from 13 months, so as long as it's been more than 1 year, and still within that 2-year period, so 13 months to 24 months, they can now get standard coverage for heart attack, stroke, TIA, angina. If it's, like I said, it's been diagnosed as having within the past, so it says it's a 2-year question, as long as it's been diagnosed for more than a year, but not within 2. That one's going to be probably the trickiest question because there's subtle difference in the wording between the question 10 and question 14. So, as well as, like I said, pacemaker, defibrillator, any type of those circulatory procedures more than that 2-year period. So, basically, they got rid of the 3-year section of questions, which is nice. I think that's where a lot of carriers are going to. A lot of our other carriers already had it set as 2-year questions, opposed to the 3-year questions. So, pricing, they aren't too bad. It's, like I said, it's a little bit right about the same rate tables. They're all within the same range where when I look at the table, they're still going to be $1 or $2 more than AMAM, which comes up usually about 4th or 5th on the rank of carriers. We went from a price standpoint. If you're Mutual Omaha, your Oxford, your Trans, Liberty Banker sometimes sneaks in there. So same thing with UHL. So I mean, they're same setup in terms of, like I said, basic in pricing. The huge piece for them is going to be the benefits of member benefits through Foresters and using them to leverage One thing to point out, you probably all should have gotten emails for your commission schedule. So they updated the schedule, showcasing the standard and the preferred rates. Some key highlights: standard and preferred rates, 50 through 80 is full commission. 81 to 85, looking about a 30% hit comp wise. But the big one, which is probably why we would never write it, is their modified plan. So the modified plan, it's about a 60% comp hit, which is huge. Like I said, and there's a lot better options, price and benefit wise, for a modified case. But like I said, at least wanted to point that out because that is something that is it definitely shows up on their actual commission schedules. Like I said, the whole point behind this is a lot of these cases where they would have been once graded, they're now able to get them day one coverage. So their standard pricing works similar to Trans. I mean, they're going to have a preferred rate, which is pretty decent. And then they have that second tier standard rate, which will look like a Trans standard, Liberty Banker standard, and so forth. So in terms of having an alternative to look at for COPD and Parkinson's as a day one coverage option, it's not a bad bet. Be able to have them inside your bag, be able to offer that coverage as well as leverage living benefits. So could make sense for people that are trying to write, say, a household. You got the husband or wife on the actual term product, and you got to fall to a payment protection plan, but yet you want to keep them within the same carrier family. A lot of couples like despite us being brokers, they want to keep coverage inside the same place. So it's an easy way to allow them to be able to have the same company and still offer day one coverage without having to pop them to a different carrier that accepts those medical issues. So aside from that, big thing is with them, there's a new underwriting guide as well now for their term, Smart UL and Advantage Plus. Which all of this has been updated on the Dropbox. So you probably got a couple emails notifying that there's been some changes to the file yesterday morning. So that's where those are. There is also new diabetes. Let me pull this up so people can see this, which they just added this to the mix. It's called the diabetes rating chart. What it is, basically, they put their diabetes on a point system, somewhat similar to Clement Financial Group, or who else has one of these? I believe National Life might have one of these as well. Basically, it's a point system to determine if the client's eligible or not for their diabetes and their build. So the big thing with Foresters, they always had a special build for diabetes folks. And this one really maps it out. So it is a small point system. It's based off of duration of diabetes, so when they were diagnosed, age-wise, as well as you look at their build. And as long as it totals 6 or less from above, they should qualify for the non-medical option on any of those products, whether it be Advantage Plus, Your Term, Smart UL. It's a nice little added feature that they added just to be able to have a more clear-cut answer. A lot of times it was very difficult to underwrite for their diabetes, since they had a weird weight chart that didn't really explain much. So this one kind of gives you a better picture of how that actually looks and if they're going to be qualified for it or not. So everything else as well, there's new brochures almost for everything in Forester. So make sure to check those out. Make sure to get those ordered if you don't already have them. They're nice little booklets now. So before being a little trifold, these come in really well organized and definitive booklets. They're anywhere between 4 to 6 pages long, but they're all free to you. So make sure to just get on there, order some, update everything. But it really breaks down the product, really good visuals and images. Also highlights a lot of their Foresters member benefits from what they offer, from park bills to giving back, scholarship options. It's real nice brochures that they're using now. So definitely order those and get those updated if you don't already have some. And let's see what else. Let's see, got all those. Got diabetes guidelines. Yeah, that is it for them so far. Are there any questions on Foresters off the top of people's heads? You should be able to unmute yourself as well, either *6 or if you're online, just the unmute button.
Marcus, it's Roger. Do you have the new stuff on the Dropbox already?
Yep. Only thing not there, I don't think any applications officially changed other than the PlanRight one. So just make sure if you're in multi-states like you are, make sure you get both of those applications saved. All right, so Ohio one, it's already there. Anything for Ohio's updated app-wise is make sure you pull your out-of-state stuff if you're not inside the state of Ohio or right in multiple places. But yes, brochures are updated, build charts, underwriting guides, the product guide from PlanRight's already there as well, kind of explaining how the product works, underwriting, all that good stuff it's already there. Same applicable phone number for the interview, nothing changes there. But like I said, big upside of Foresters, like I said, they're basing everything off the applicable phone call. So as long as you answer all those questions right, they do the phone call. Whatever answer they usually give on applicable will stand. So. Any other questions? All right. Moving on to the next one. So let me get all this stuff out of here. All right, next one is going to be Transamerica. So couple things. I will forward the email, but everyone should have gotten an email from Transamerica December 5th. And hold on, let me find. Or excuse me, December 3rd, which I'll probably forward this out to you as well. But it has a email kind of going over the new agent back office page. It is a doozy to get it registered. It took a couple tries. What you have to do is one, let's see, you follow the prompts, but also inside of the Dropbox, I already have the registration flyer uploaded. So if you don't see the email, just pop inside the Dropbox. It'll show you how to get this thing started, which is transamerica.com. You're going to go to log in. It's in the top right-hand corner. And also there'll be a prompt that says sign up. You want to hit financial professional. And it'll prompt you to put in your last name, your birthday, and then your writing number. Your writing number will be the full MLSR number without the dash. So make sure you get that in there. That's what they're going to use. And then once you successfully do that, there is a security phrase at the very bottom, one of their captchas or whatever you call them. You type in the code. It's a 3-digit or 3-letter code. What worked for me is doing it in all caps, just how the code shows. And then it'll prompt you to put in a username, email address, recovery email address, as well as once it goes successful, you'll get a security phrase or security code emailed to you that you got to type in just to register the full account and that email address. It looks pretty good. Make sure this is the right one. Oh, let me go. So it's under agent advisor experience. So basically it's a one-stop shop for everything trans. From the client standpoint to the other groups, it looks good, it looks clean, and like I said, it does email you a security code, or you get a text message. It's so new, I haven't even saved everything yet. So I mean, it's definitely a new interface. It's cleaner. Everything is not there just yet, so there is a lot of stuff that's missing from it. Big thing, it's going to be, obviously, you have their e-application. That's the big news for trans as of late. They now have a iGo e-app that allows you to do their final expense application all online. One thing to note, you do have to register for iGo to have an actual account. It is a hurdle. Unlike every other carrier, you have to log in for every other company, but these guys, you have to do an unfortunate login. So I recommend registering. If you click on the iGo application link, whether it be on the new trans website or even the old one, the ANI website, you will be able to log in and register for that, a separate account. So recommend doing that. You get stuck on it, give me a ring. I'll be able to kind of walk you through it. Or honestly, the trans sales desk is really good about walking people through it, getting them up to speed on it. Let's see. And then right now, other main issue that we're having problem with, so the link that was used for the previous trans quoting tool, it is dead, honestly. That's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, let me see if this one. So the only way to really quote the product currently is under their transware, which is, it's on their back office page. So other than using, whether it be Specs Quotes, Best Plan Pro, whatever other quoting aggregate, if they're updated, it should work. Otherwise, it's an extra to log into the back office to get the quotes there from trans. So highly, highly recommend getting registered, logged in, getting everything ported over for your account just so you have them in one centralized spot, and you're ready to rock and roll. But it's fairly easy. I mean, to run quotes, just type in their age. Let's just say 74, or and we're going to solve for premium. And then hit summary, and then it gives you the monthly premium. Also, this is on the 10 pay. Make sure we switch that. So it's not difficult. It's different. Just kind of just poke around and get used to it. It would be a chore to use at the first start of it, but big thing now, like I said, it's all one nice application. They do have a build chart now, unlike the old plan. There is a build chart now being used on that. So breaking down there, let's get to the nuts and bolts. Where are we at? There we go. 0 to 85 still. Instead of having two different applications for their 0 to 44 and 45 and up, it's all one nice application. Thus, the application is question-wise, is actually a little bit longer than what it once was, which isn't a bad thing. Still up to 50 grand be the maximum, $1,000 be the minimum. And it has their breakdowns for the different ages. So different bands from 0 to 55, 50 grand. 56 to 65 is 40. 66 to 75 is 30. And then 76 to 85 be 25,000. Benefits are still the same. That's the changes there. In terms of their grandchild rider, accelerated confined care, as well as their terminal illness. This one gives you the per thousand premiums, which if you were to study the rate tables from the old plan versus the new plan, you kind of start seeing some of those differences. Like I said earlier, didn't really notice too many differences other than $1 or $2 difference in some of the younger brackets. The traditional final expense stuff between the ages of about 50 and 60 is right about the same price. It's those bigger bands above 60, where ages above 60, you start seeing a little bit of difference. Some cases go up $1 or $2, some maybe 3 or 4. A little bit higher jump on the standardized rates. But the big thing now, I said, there's actually an underwriting guide. So before on Trans, where the product was set up, there wasn't an underwriting guide. So kind of figuring things out was a lot more difficult. Wasn't really that much guidance on what's taken, what's not taken. It's just basing off the answers of questions. Still the same setup, but at least you have a good idea of what's going to fly, what's not going to fly. Most of these are going to be broken down by ages, whether it be under 45, under 20, under 26. I mean, there's a lot of different questions depending on the certain ages of who's who, or what's the major issue. All because, like I said, it's one app now for everybody. So instead of before on the younger application was underwriting guides and things to follow, this one, it's everyone. So definitely it's cool to look at, seeing what's taken. A lot of things stay the same. There's not too many major differences. Let me just see if anything jumps out to me. Which I glanced at these last couple of days to kind of see if I can catch anything different. But the only difference I caught was the angina question on their application too. But yeah, everything's pretty much the same. And then here's their infamous brand new build chart. So still, if you have clients that are very short and round, you're probably looking at rural neighbors for most of those cases still. The 5'2", 400 something pounds, those are going to be rural neighbors cases, no longer a trans option. It's pretty liberal. It's not too terrible. So basically, for those 300-pound people, you should know that'd be 5'8" or taller to be 300 pounds, opposed to getting a graded plan. You don't really want that anyway. So, but it's not terrible, but it is there. In terms of application, here's the new application. It looks totally different from how it once looked. I think on paper these are still 31 pages long, so definitely recommend the e-app for sure. But it's a really good, clean, I would call it progressive application. Meaning if you answer yeses, it's going to tell you the follow-up question that needs to be asked next, or what needs to be filled out in correspondence to that actual yes answer. So get down to the nuts and bolts of it. One thing I like though for sure is their new billing page. It has initial draft days. If it's a recurring or initial draft option, that's definitely a lot better than what it used to be. All right, lifestyle question. So that's where it starts. So any type of tobacco, it's a lot more in-depth tobacco questions than what it was before. So even stuff from e-cigarettes, vaping, hookahs, They even take marijuana use if it's less than 12 times in 12 months. But most of the questions now, they're going to be broken down, like I said, via age. So like certain issues, they'll ask if it's prior to the age of 45, for example, for heart failure or CHF. Most of these, like I said, the first section is going to be knockout questions. So the same setup as previous. They run a bunch of knockout major stuff, and then it tells you if anything they answered yes, do not continue, you're not eligible for coverage. And if you're all no's, you keep on going. So collect $200 and pass go. So, but the big one to point out, like I said, for example, is hepatitis question. If it's answered yes, they then ask follow-up. Is it cured? Is it not cured? If it was cured, was it in the last 24 months, more than 24 months? And then depending on how this follow-up question gets answered will determine whether this counts as a yes or a no answer. Meaning you would still answer it yes on the application, but when you're going to do the final summary of the tally of if this many questions are answered yes in this section, do you proceed? Are they eligible for graded? Are they eligible for standard? They're not going to fully count. You don't count them towards that number. So a real good example of this, you have the hepatitis question for sure, but also it's the angina question. So there kind of was a loophole built into the application previously for angina. It was kind of confusing how you would answer it yes, and you technically could have two yeses inside that standard section, which per the way the app read, it would go as graded, but those cases were getting approved standard still. Now we have an explanation of why that actually is. Because certain things like the angina piece, if it was diagnosed more than 24 months ago, even though you're taking medications as maintenance, it's not going to count as an actual yes answer during the tally. So it's like I said, the application is a lot cleaner. It's more in depth in terms of explaining if there are follow-up questions, what they are, and how those follow-up questions correspond to how the application should be answered, or what you should be tallying up to figure out if it's a preferred or standard case. Otherwise, they still do COPD, they still do insulin use. I mean, it's all the same, really, the question-wise. It's just a lot more tedious, would probably be the best word to put it, just because they're also asking questions for those people that are under the age of 45. So there seem like a lot more invasive or more in-depth questions on trans. It's all just because it's one application versus the younger application also. So just keep that in mind. Definitely give it a glance. So this is the Ohio version of the application. They don't have any state codes at the very bottom just yet, but I'm sure that these numbers are broken down via certain states having certain applications. So big ones would be like Texas, where they have certain questions that they have to answer and so forth. So I recommend going to the old website, and underneath trans marketing, you actually can order these applications, and they ship out within 48 hours. So you'll be able to get paper copy if you still need the paper copy, or at least have one saved for the emergencies if you're not in a place where you can do the e-app. So, but yeah, any questions on the Transamerica application or what their changes are so far? Okay, well, nothing on trans. Okay, that's good. But yeah, big thing, like I said, e-app. So make sure to register new website as well as for the iPipeline. Make sure you guys have that. So you'll be able to go in there and use the e-app. And then last but not least, I'm trying to keep this as entertaining as possible, is our newest addition product-wise. So United Home Life, UHL, or United Farm Family, depending on the state you're in. So Ohio, it's actually United Farm Family. So basically, it's a huge plethora of stuff. Let me pull up more of their stuff. Product portfolio and all right. So United Home Life. One, there's technically 3 different whole life products, with their final expense having 3 different tiers to it. They have accidental death that you can sell, which I'm almost positive it should be without a health license due to this little disclaimer right here saying there's a small whole life policy attached. So similar to American Amicable, Americo, where you can sell accidental because it has a actual natural cause death benefit, usually a small portion. Got to verify how much this one's actually worth. It might be $500, it might be $1,000, but it's going to be heavy on the accidental death side. And then they also have a series of term products as well. First thing, fair compensation. It's not a bad comp plan. For their whole life option, it doesn't have any age limitations. So there's no drop-offs for going up to the age of 80 and so forth. The way it works, primarily you're going to be inside that final expense series. So that's going to be the Express Issue Whole Life, which we're going to talk about a lot. That's the main reason why we have it. Express Issue Deluxe and Express Issue Premier. They also have a guaranteed issue product, which goes down to age 45, which is nice. So you get some of those weird cases that are under the age of 45 or under the age of 50, that have gone to AIG, a Gerber. If you have Great Western, it could be another option there. But for those that don't, because we don't currently have them as a whole group for Great Western, this would be a good alternative for some of those one-off cases that are under the age of 40 or under the age of 50 to age 45 that you can write. And then they have their provider. So the provider whole life is basically their preferred and standard option, healthy of the healthy. You're looking at faces from 10,000 all the way to 150 grand. So if you get someone that's really young, really healthy, they're trying to get that big Shamu whole life policy, this could be a good space to look at them. It's a simplified issue. All the products are simplified issue. And what they do is they build in their tables. So going into, for example, the Express Issue Whole Life, built in 16 tables, which means it's usually 25% cost for every table, but that's how all of our simplified issue products are built from a table 4 up anyway. That's how you don't have to worry about the fluid or the exams being done to be able to offer those products at those prices. But the big thing for them is going to be structure. So the Express Issue Whole Life, it is a ROP option, but unlike every other carrier, their ROP is return of premium, 12% for the first year, and then it goes to 24% for the second year. So opposed to literally every other option for a modified or return of premium business, where it's ROP plus 10%, they're doing a little bit different by giving you a tiered approach. So it doesn't seem like a ton of money, but on the one example to give, if a client's paying $100 a month, and then say they paid in, say they passed away at month 12, so they paid in $1,200. If you multiply that by 1.12, it will show you how much money they're going to get. They'll receive a check for $1,344. It's 2% higher the first year than, like I said, every other company, which equates to about $20 to $30 in most cases, depending on the face amount or the monthly premium. But the big difference, though, that I know is it's on that second year. If they die within months 13 to 24, you're going to be looking at that same, say, for example, they die on month 13, they paid in 13 months of premiums, times that 1.24, it's about $1,612 paid out to them. With the way I explain ROPs, modifieds. The big difference is it's just like a savings account, and it's paying out more interest than what your bank's going to currently give you if you were to save that actual money. So one, it helps speed up the urgency on the client's end, but from a benefit payout compared to other companies, I mean, if they die in that 13th month and have that 24% ROP, you're looking at anywhere between a $200 to $300 difference in what they get money-wise, which to us, that might not sound like a big deal, but from a client standpoint, given their health and their current situation, that extra $200 or $300 that can be paid out, which it actually grows a little bit higher once you go down the road. Because yeah, think about it, it's paying out 14% more interest than every other product in that same category in terms of their ROP options. So I mean, even just on the 13th month, you're looking at like a $200 to $300 difference. If you get to those later months, you can be looking at almost $1,000 difference or more being paid out to that actual client, which from an ROP standpoint, that's a real big deal to think about. I would say it's also reflected inside their premiums. So they are going to be, on average, sometimes $5 to $13 more expensive than your AIG and your Gerbers. But in terms of why it actually is, or why you would choose this one over a different option, first and foremost, you're getting paid your full compensation. That's the first and foremost. Second, the client's going to get paid out more actual money, so you could flip up those. But look at from why you would write it over a cheaper option. You're getting your full commission check on a modified option. But the client also gets paid out a tad bit more money as well by having it. And those questions, so if we kind of talk about those, and we'll segue to the rest of it. So they do have knockout questions, so your basic stuff. I already posted this inside of our chat. But what you'll realize is inside their knockout questions, there's a really big important one that's not there. That's going to be the Alzheimer's and dementia question. That is not a knockout question for United Home Life. Actually, that is one of the main reasons why we have them, to be able to offer those people that have Alzheimer's or dementia currently being treated an option to have coverage that's not going to be a guaranteed issue, or a GI product at a lot higher premium, reduced benefit structure, and so forth. So it's nice addition to where they're not going to per se punish those folks that have that and stick them into a GI product. Also, same things of, let me see, as long as it's not, make sure this, not seeing a cancer question in here. So as long as they haven't been treated for cancer in the last 12 months, but it's been within the past 2 years, they also can get the express issue option. So once again, instead of waiting for a full 2 years to be cancer-free, going to a GI product, that's a nice little angle to have as well. Same thing will go for heart surgeries. Past the 12 months, so 13 months on, that could be a good place for them. So their kidney disease, this situation, I would be looking at, hold on, make sure I read this right. So even dialysis would be express issue, whole life. So currently receive dialysis would be a knockout, but if they were off of dialysis, it's not a have you ever question. It's just in the last 2 years. So that's a good express issue whole life case as well. For kidney disease, like I said, diabetic or neuropathy in general, that wouldn't be good for kidneys. That's a good place for them. Let's see what else. The AFL, you don't have to worry about them for that. So yeah, there's a handful of stuff, like I said. It's all in the second section. You have some peek at it and kind of put them side by side. But like I said, for a lot of stuff that's, we said, past that 13-month period, there could be a good home for it here versus a lot of other places. Like I said, they want that full 2 years anyway. So you get some of those weird cases you kind of get stuck on. They said this could be a good little space for those 13 to 24-month options as well. Even looking at, like I said, I mean, the new Foresters app kind of combats some of that and giving them standard coverage. So I wasn't really keen on the Foresters whole life before just because of how their process was, but with these new questions, be able to get someone day one coverage in that 13 to 24-month window for a lot of things, it's a real good place for it. And obviously, if you get through the whole application, they have their deluxe section, which is going to be part C right here. This will be the deluxe. So anything answer yes in this will get them into the deluxe product, which is basically almost like a standard rate. So very good with some diabetes folks. Diabetes questions are inside this one. Requiring insulin treatment last couple of years. It's not an age on that actual question. So ideally for people that have diabetes at a younger age, it's a real good place. And we'll talk about their issues, ages, and so forth here in a second. Have they ever been declined or postponed for life insurance? Like I said, if you got declined previously, they'll still take it. But if you get everything answered no, you're going to be in for their premier rate, which is right in line a lot of times with, the Mutual Omaha, because the way their product works, which this will explain why. It says, technically speaking, it's up to $2,000 all the way up to $100,000 worth of coverage. Depending on the product line, it's Express Issues 2,000. So that graded benefit option we're talking about with the Alzheimer's dementia is 2,000 to 25,000. You get their deluxe, so real good product for insulin diabetics, 5,000 to 50,000, ages 20 to 80. Their Express Issue whole life is 25 to 80 as well. And then their Express Issue Premier, which is basically their preferred rate aside from their provider product, 20 to 80 is $5,000 to $100,000. So I mean that is a huge deal. And then their GI is 5,000 to 25,000, 45 to 75. So I think it's a pretty solid product line. If you can get their premier rate, so someone that's super healthy, you're looking at those upwards, those higher end face amounts compared to other products at $40,000 to $50,000 mark. They actually beat out Mutual Omaha. They beat out Trans price wise. So it's a real good actual addition. Only drawback, they do have a phone call. So PHIs are required if you're looking at this thing almost on all of their products. This will also go, so no PHI on accidental death, but there's a PHI required on their term products as well. So that'll probably be the one reason why I probably won't use their term products very often, just because of the fact that the extra phone call, the extra step, which you absolutely have to. They do have an ROP option. If you're above $100,000, it's a real good return on premium at 100% return premium. Like I said, I would still lean more towards KC Life, be able to have living benefits included with it, all three of them, instead of just terminal illness. And then business-wise, or bill chart-wise, excuse me, pretty liberal. I mean, they're not the best, but this is also a case where they're 5'8". Their term product can issue all its age or weight 305 pounds. So if you get some of those bigger people trying to get term coverage, this could be a nice little option for them as well. It's a little bit more work, but through that phone call. But it is an additional option to be able to get someone term at those higher builds. So bill charts for all three, the provider, accidental, their whole life, as well as their term product. I had that bill chart on there. So, but other than that, like I said, the big thing is one, freeing yourself of having to fall back to GI products for some of those off cases or different time frames. It's to the rates, they aren't terrible. So even on their at their express issue, I said from 25 to 5 to 25,000, 25 to 80. They're not too bad rate wise. Be able to take some of that stuff and have that ROP plus 24% interest on that second policy year. So, are there any questions on UHL? It's a lot of stuff we just covered today, but one thing to add before the questions pop in, they do have a really good chargeback rule, which is why you want to write this opposed to a GI product. It's 100% chargeback for the first year. It's normal stuff. But the difference is going to be that second year, unless you're writing the guaranteed issue product, there's no chargebacks for that second year. So that is a huge, huge bonus. One thing to point out, though, on their GI product, they do have a built-in guideline for if you are doing a GI, which is they answer 0 questions on that whole life app. You do the phone call, and then you tell them it's a GI, then you're pretty much done. They just confirm their information, don't answer any of the health questions. It can't be more than 25% of the total volume you do with United Home Life. So in essence, the rule of thumb is for every GI application, you want to place 3 non-guaranteed issue policies with United Home Life. So keep that in mind if you're writing a GI case. If they're under that 50 mark, you need a GI company. Just keep that part in mind, just to not forget to write some other business with them, so you don't get terminated. But like I said, it kind of explains their chargeback policy for the first year compared to this one on their modified program, which the one we're using them for. It's only within the first year. So like I said, build issues, look back 1 year, look back for cancer, heart surgery, stroke, drug abuse, as well as that Alzheimer's, dementia will be their little niche. So any questions on any of that stuff, guys? All right, I guess there's no questions. So if you haven't already sent me a text message or an email, if you want the contracting link, just reach out to me. I get that started, especially if you are a direct agent. If you are a downline agent, you have a manager, you have to get them contracted first. So get them to send me an email, and then we'll get that process started. But like I said, I think it'll be a real good game changer, an additional product to, one, better serve clients, but also better serve you guys, and try to stop using guaranteed issue products for all things possible. So it takes a lot of that stuff that we usually stick on a GI product and kind of just leave it be with a real good home for it, so you don't have to do that, as well as the big thing is a favorable chargeback rule. I can say I'm definitely proud of you guys. We haven't wrote too much GI business. It's only equated for, right now, I think it's less than 5%, which is a phenomenal number. What that means is GI business, I think we're at either 25, 35,000 in that range of GI products. So it's AIG and Gerber combined, with the annualized premium compared to our, we're right at about $757,000 worth of submitted business on the actual year. So I think we can, by the time this month's over, we'll probably just scratch by 800,000 simplified issue business, which is about 200 grand short of our $1 million goal. But it's about 300, almost 350 more than what we did the previous year, which was awesome. So that means a lot more people are with us. We're actually writing business, protecting families, so it's going the right direction. All when the year's over, we should be about 800,000 life business and approximately either 1.5 million, maybe 1.6 million worth of annuity business. So it's a very, very strong year. If you want to add in the Medicare to that whole mix of it too, you're looking at right about probably about 60 enrollments from Medicare between about 3 different people. So, I said it's a pretty solid number. Said we're just growing, we're helping families, and then there's just a bunch of good stuff that's happening at IFG. I said we got named Broker of the Year by Newsnet magazine, so you guys probably saw that post on Innovative and Friends. So we're in a real good place, and there's a lot more products coming. So that's a lot of more exclusive options, whether it be whole life, ULs. There's a lot more fun stuff that's happening. So definitely excited for where 2020 is going to take us and the tools we're going to have to be able to use. So until then, any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me, get some of the stuff handled and taken care of for you. But you guys have an awesome work week. It's about another 14-day push until the 21st. Like I said, we're moving right on along. So another 2 weeks left of the working year, kind of close up shop, get things situated. So definitely. Now's the time of year. Just put all the loose ends to bed. Make sure you're getting that stuff taken care of. Submit it to those carriers. Those vying for carrier trips. The final push. Make sure you get all those apps in by their deadline so they process in a timely fashion and they count towards your convention credits, as well as finish out the year strong. It's a great time to. I've been going back through older cases, updating options. I'm going back through B leads. Make sure I'm just dialing. Just this is the time of year you want to increase your activity. So that's aside from buying leads, because going back through those older leads that might have pushed you off from June, July, and so forth, just to be able to kind of put some of those things to bed and get out in front of a lot more people during that holiday rush. So, but until then, you guys take care. You have a great week, and we'll talk soon.